Can you imagine this beautiful, sad, and quiet woman turned out to be the murderer who stabbed her boyfriend 37 times?
我有什么对不起他的？为什么？找不到，找不到理由，为什么？
What happened between them? Let's see this case together. At around 4 a.m. on April 10th, 2004, a woman called the police to report that she had killed someone in her apartment. Upon learning of the incident, the police immediately rushed to the address provided by the woman. When they got to the apartment, a thin woman answered the door. She looked drawn and calm, not the least bit scared. The police thought they had arrived at the wrong place because she didn't look like someone who had just experienced a murder until they opened the bedroom door and saw the bloody scene. A man was lying prone behind the door. There was blood all over the room, on the bed, the walls, and even the ceiling. There were 37 cuts on the deceased, and his left side of the face and hands were mutilated. The horror of the scene even made experienced police officers feel terrified. What made them even more unbelievable was that the quiet woman standing beside them was the murderer. After the woman was brought back to the police station for questioning, it was learned that her name was Kai Yuhua, age 33, working in a real estate company in Kunming. The deceased was her boyfriend who was living together with her and also the closest person to her. His name was Ben Ji, age 37. He came to Kunming several years ago from his hometown to do business. He met Kai in a project cooperation. He fell in love with Kai at first sight and often asked her out for dinner under the pretext of work. After several meals, Ben expressed his feelings to Kai and wanted her to be his girlfriend. At that time, Kai was 28 years old and had just divorced because her ex-husband was addicted to gambling, not only losing all their savings, but also owing a lot of debt. After the divorce, she was pessimistic about marriage and lacked a sense of security in love. However, Ben's consideration and enthusiasm made her have faith in love again and began to date Ben. Soon after, the two lived together. In the memory of Kai's parents, the two had a good relationship and felt that they would get married in the future. But why would Kai brutally kill her beloved boyfriend? The half-month before the crime was a crucial time point in this case. It seems that the tragedy was already destined at that time. At 11 p.m. on March 24th, Kai called Ben, who was on a business trip, but the person who answered the phone was a woman. Kai asked her who she was and why she answered the phone. Before the woman could answer, Ben took the phone away. Kai immediately asked him who the woman was, and Ben said that she was his client. Kai didn't buy it because a client couldn't be with him so late and even answer his phone. Ben's lies made Kai very mad, but just as she was about to continue questioning, Ben hung up the phone. Then Kai called Ben again, but his phone was turned off. That night, Kai stayed up all night alone in the apartment where she lived with Ben. In the following 3 days, she didn't have any food or water, didn't go to work, but just sat on the sofa at home in tears. Thinking back on everything that happened in the past few months, Kai suddenly realized that Ben might have already cheated. During this period, Ben abused Kai many times. He burned her with lit cigarettes, whipped her with a belt, stepped on her face, and even once beat her in front of her friends. Kai was sent to the hospital several times, and she still had a sequela caused by a concussion. Even after being arrested, when interviewed, Kai said that her head still hurt all the time. Every time Ben tortured her, it was like a knife in her heart. 36 times, Kai clearly remembered that she was beaten 36 times. Ben, who had always been gentle and sweet, suddenly changed. Kai had been puzzled about this and wondered if it was caused by the pressure of his business. Now, the woman who answered his phone at midnight finally made Kai understand everything. However, even though Kai suffered serious abuse and betrayal, she didn't think about breaking up with Ben. In fact, during the last few months, Kai tried to repair their relationship with great care. She not only endured Ben's abuse, but also tried her best to borrow money from relatives and friends, whenever Ben's business was not going well to help him out of trouble.
他3个工作上，他能私下借钱啊，那他就开口4万问了一下我们所有的朋友借钱了吗？你想下借路费啊，交这些拿保证金啊、定金啊，他都出来借钱。
Kai, who had experienced a failed marriage, really wanted it to work out this time. She hoped that they could get married eventually. After considering for a few days, Kai decided to risk everything to defend her love. But at this time, she didn't know that the problem wasn't that simple. Behind Ben's affair with that woman, there was another cruel fact Kai didn't know. When Ben's affair was exposed, he ended his business trip early and rushed back to their apartment. For Kai's repeated questioning, he didn't say a word and tacitly admitted the fact of infidelity. His silence made Kai even more angry, so she scolded Ben loudly. At this time, Ben finally spoke up, saying that he had been married in his hometown and had a child. After learning this, Kai was devastated and slapped Ben. Ben immediately became furious. He took off his belt and hit Kai hard with the side of the buckle. Being tormented both physically and emotionally, Kai finally passed out. When she woke up, she found herself lying in the hospital. At this time, she was extremely fragile and fell into deep fear. She didn't know how to live alone in the future, so Kai decided to forgive Ben and hoped that he could divorce his wife. However, after she told Ben her idea, Ben said that he wouldn't divorce. At this point, Ben had lost his last bit of patience and was indifferent to Kai's begging. On the evening of April 9th, desperate Kai wandered on the street alone in a trance. She called Ben again, but what she heard was a woman's laughter and Ben's abuse. Ben told her not to call him again, and if she continued to pester him, he would kill her. At this time, Kai was on the verge of breaking down. She stood on the street, recalling Ben's threats and abuse just now, and thinking about her sacrifices over the years. Resentment and despair eroded her sense. Kai decided to find Ben tonight and asked for an explanation for what he had done to her. She searched everywhere Ben might go, but found nothing. At 3 a.m., exhausted Kai returned to the apartment and unexpectedly saw Ben at home. She immediately rushed into the kitchen, took a kitchen knife, and handed it to Ben, saying, "You want to kill me, right? Let's die together." What Kai didn't expect was Ben was so ruthless that he really slashed her. Kai instinctively defended herself with her hand, and the knife cut her hand. Looking at the blood that kept flowing out, Kai completely lost her mind. She used her best strength to take the knife away and hacked Ben. Not sure how long later, Ben slowly fell into a pool of blood. Looking at this dying man, Kai didn't feel frightened at all, because she was more concerned about a question that had troubled her for a long time.
我就问他：“你真正的有没有爱过我？你为什么要欺骗我？”他告诉我，他爱过。我就对着他摇头，没有。如果你真正爱我，你不会这样对我。
Kai felt that her life was also coming to an end, so she called the police. When her parents came to see her at the police station, she was ashamed and desperate. She knelt down and kowtowed to her parents 3 times, saying she was sorry to them. In December, Kai was sentenced to death for intentional homicide, with a 2-year reprieve. Although she was lucky to survive, Kai didn't feel relieved at all. She knew that she had not only ruined Ben, but also destroyed 2 families.
我没有权利去剥夺人家的生命，这是我的错。真的，我必须承担法律责任，这是应该的。但是，真的，让我最难过的就是给家人造成的痛苦。 他们家人也会痛苦，都是因为我不应该。
In prison, Kai looks out of the window in the same direction every day because she can see her home from there. Kai's parents have been in poor health, but they insist on visiting their daughter in prison every month to encourage and comfort her. The love of her family gave her great motivation. Now Kai has become a member of the prison dancing troupe. She practices diligently every day, making sincere repentance and living a positive life.